What's it gonna take for you to finally break up with your bullshit? Think what you could do if you could only break up with your bullshit.
Well, hello there, and welcome to the Break Up With Your Bullshit podcast. My name is Michelle Akin. If you do not know me, well, why not? I am a coach. I work one-on-one with creative humans on working to get their art out of them and into the world. Been doing that since 2012, met a lot of people along the way, and I bring them onto this podcast to pick their brain about how they have achieved success with their art, how they are living that dream and demystifying the dream a bit too, because pretty much everyone I talk to experiences this weird disconnect between, oh, I live this life and people think it's this way, but it's actually this way. And I think a lot of up and coming artists or people who haven't quite gotten started could use a bit of demystifying around that. So you get that we're all starting from similar places, and a lot of this is just mindset games. So I hope that this episode and any of the other ones can support you in working to get your art out of you, because the world needs it. So at the time of this recording, my Break Up With Your Bullshit live event, which is a digital event happening on February 20th, is almost sold out. So I don't know where it's going to be when this episode actually airs, and this episode will air the same week. It'll air on the Monday prior to the actual event. And so it very well may be completely sold out.
Hold up. Okay, there. I'm going to stop you right there past me. I'm going to let you finish, but it's just current day Michelle interrupting for a moment because past me didn't know a lot of stuff, and I could leave it like that, but I actually need to give you a few updates before I let her keep talking. First of all, the Break Up With Your Bullshit live event did sell out, and then I started getting harassed is a strong word, but I got propositioned by a number of people asking if they could still get tickets. And so if you are listening to this before 8 p.m. Eastern on Monday, February 15th, you can sign up for my email list and get into bullshit detention, which is where I send everyone who didn't buy their ticket in the first place, but then asked me for one later. So look for the link for that on the page on my website, michelleakin.com. It's easy to find. And one other thing. So in this episode, Corinne and I talk a bit about Marilyn Manson. And I just wanted to mention briefly that this episode was recorded before the allegations came out against him. And she has talked about it on her Instagram and on her podcast, I'm sure, at this point. But just wanted to give you the spatial time awareness that this happened before that all happened. So I asked her, and she's told the stories that she told on this podcast many times before. So she didn't want me to cut any of them out. But if you want to know more about where she sits with him now, you can go check out Without a Country podcast or Guys We Fucked. I'm not sure which one she talked about it on, but it could be either one. Or go scan her Instagram. And that's it. So I'm going to give it back to past me in the cute dress.
So go check it out. And if it is sold out, there's probably a waiting list by now. So sign up for the waiting list. My guest today is the incomparable Corinne Fisher, host of the Guys We Fucked podcast, as well as Without a Country, as well as a stand-up comedian who is absolutely hilarious. I've known her since we were both interns at Late Night with Conan O'Brien in 2006. And she was a badass then. She's a badass now. And we had a very colorful conversation about a whole bunch of stuff. I would say the front half of this podcast is a lot of personal stories and catching up, and it's really fun. The second half is very laden with talk around creativity and creative process and getting past all of the different blocks. And she's got some real gems, especially right at the end. So I recommend listening to the whole thing. And I'm just giving you a roadmap of what to expect. So please enjoy this interview with Corinne Fisher.
Break up with your bullshit.
What is this painting, this mural behind you?
Oh, it's a 16-foot mural of me and my dog. I'll show you it.
God, yes.
based off a photo shoot. I didn't do the photo shoot with my dog, but I added the dog. I had a lady from an artist from Australia like squat here for like a week and a half. Right when that was the first thing I did when I bought this place. Yeah. So I thought it sets a real tone for people.
I like that you're sitting between your own legs.
Yeah. I like it.
I enjoy that.
It's like Rihanna. Like I feel like Rihanna poses like that a lot, and I think she has like a nice, like she's feminine but has a strong masculine energy as well, and I appreciate that.
Huh. I think I like that about her too, without realizing that that's why.
Yeah, I tend to like people who, tend to like people who are like me, but that I also tend, which people misread as like narcissism a lot, but my therapist actually said it's like a very just healthy way to be. And because I also like sometimes like develop crushes on people after they tell me that they have a crush on me. And I was like, is that psychotic? And she's like, no, that's actually like the functioning way to be. She's like, so many people try to chase after people who aren't interested in them. And that's like low self-esteem. And I was like, oh, great. Everything's fine. I guess I can fire you.
My therapist tries to get herself fired pretty much every week with the shit she says to me. That's really good, though. I've never heard that before, and that just helped me. So,
I'm happy to help.
By the way, I got my tits out because it's you. So I
loved it. Is that one of your pieces from Black Milk Clothing, or where is that dress from?
Yes.
Or is it a dress or a top?
It's a dress. I don't have the belt on right now, but it's like full.
Ooh, that's nice. I love like the graffiti style art on it.
I have a few of these dresses, and they look like a sack if you don't put a belt on. And I just forgot the belt. I forgot to bring the belt with me, but it kind of also is very constraining. So I'm like, can't see the belt anymore.
Yeah, when you're sitting a belt, it doesn't feel good. I love it, and I appreciate it. As a small-chested woman, I always get really upset when people with huge tits aren't showing them all the time. I would have basically up until sometimes on my Instagram stories I show a little areola. I try to get as much in as possible, really.
I appreciate that about you.
So I don't care.
There's a whole bunch of stuff about you that I'm like, I'm like, I have to watch this. I have to like be inspired by you because you just own the shit out of it.
Oh, thanks. I try to. You only really got one shot, unless I guess I was a cat in my past life, and then I have several. But I don't feel like I was.
That's possible.
According to the woman I spoke to, I've been a human for many lifetimes, so that's why I feel so tired. But
know of any of what were those past lives or any of the roles?
Yeah. Apparently, I've been in the entertainment business for many lifetimes, and I was an actress, like I can't remember if she said Greek or Roman, but I was an actress in a Greek or Roman company, like one of the stars of it. So not like world renowned, but I don't think in those times it would be even possible to be world renowned because you wouldn't have the technology. You could only be, as far as people could physically travel to see you or hear about you.
Right.
So I was like, that's cool. I always thought I truly did believe for a long time that I was a dog in a past life. So I was a little disappointed that I've been a human for so long, but maybe before that, I was, yeah. And it feels weird. Also, I feel like while it's exciting to know that I was like, I guess, in the public eye for many lifetimes, it also feels like, oh no, well, have I become stagnant now? That was my first thought. I guess like most people would be like, oh, that's like so cool. I've been like, in the public eye for many lifetimes. And my first thought was like, I need some upward movement. I feel like I'm stuck.
Yeah. Like next life, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
What's your next one?
Yeah, exactly. And I guess you have to go once you like, achieve your worldly, like this realm goals, you have to go into like spirituality, which is what I was afraid of. So here we are.
Maybe I can help you.
Yeah.
You into some of that world.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for being here. I know I already told you this, but I want to talk about how we met. Do you remember like the day we met? Do you remember meeting? Because I just have a vague blob memory of being in a conference room with you every single day. I have the same. I don't remember the exact moment, but I think that's because I was meeting. We're meeting so many people at the same time. But I feel like didn't you start a couple days, like a little bit after me? Because I feel like I remember you coming in
and being like the new intern.
Yeah.
So I think I remember you coming in. So then, I mean, like, I don't remember meeting you, but I remember the day. And I remember one of the first things we did was you were very eager, like in a good way, to help. And, we had to do coffee runs. And I remember, I think I took you on one of your first coffee runs to the commissary, and kind of like, taught, I don't want to say taught you how to get coffee, but like taught you how to get coffee for that show.
I didn't drink coffee. So
I didn't drink coffee either, was the problem.
And one of my first, for people who don't know, we interned at Late Night with Conan O'Brien when he was still on NBC. But one of my first runs was to get Conan's coffee.
Yeah. And it would always be so stressful when you were getting something for Conan specifically.
My first day, I had to go get his dinner.
From the Asian restaurant in Times Square?
From the Red Eye Grill.
Oh, okay. Because there was like 2 places that he would get it from. Yeah, it was like, and they were all like wildly expensive.
And far away. And I had a physical map of New York City that I was using.
Oh, that's really cute. That's like my mom.
I mean, otherwise we were printing out hop stop directions because we didn't have smartphones.
Yeah.
These interns these days, they have it so fucking easy.
I mean, sometimes I'm like especially like being on the road a lot as a stand-up comedian, I don't know how the fuck people did it. My mom has driven across the country 2 times using only paper maps, like, and different routes because she wanted to see all the states. And I was like, that is impressive. Yeah. Like I mean, I forgot how to drive altogether, to be honest, but oh well.
When was the last time you drove?
God, I don't remember, 10 years ago.
Wow.
I don't remember. I mean, because I'm 35. I moved to New York City when I was 17. But so I had basically just gotten my driver's license. I never have owned a car because I knew I was going to go to college in the city. So there was, I have a late birthday. It would have been like not even a year. I would have used it. And I lived within walking distance of my high school. So and I had enough friends with cars. There was just no point. And so, yeah. And then, a couple of years after, during college and stuff, I would still drive myself during the summer to like jobs at the mall, but I've also never really driven long distance. So I was never like a super confident driver and I didn't love it. So then once I moved to the city, I was like, I don't need to do this anymore. And now I'm kind of like, especially during the pandemic, I'm like, I'm going to go take driving lessons so I can relearn because it's weird. And it's also weird that I still have my license. So like legally there's nothing stopping me from driving. It's just my own, like knowing that I shouldn't do it, that I have other people drive me places.
That's really, my husband lived in New York for 15 years before we moved out to Jersey once we had our kid. And I drive everywhere. I mean, he can drive, but I'm just way more comfortable with it. Cause even when we would rent a car or something in Brooklyn, I drove. And that's more freak shit than anything. But like, I'm driving, and also we're in New Jersey, which is like, it's my stomping ground. So, I just drive everywhere.
Of course. And I feel like also like being trained as a New Jersey driver, like that's like the ultimate road test because we're such wackadoo drivers in the home state.
Yeah. Once I got into Manhattan, I was like, the only difference here is that no one uses blinkers at all. Like we use blinkers in Jersey. Sometimes we fuck each other over with them, but like in New York, body language, you have to watch the body language of the car and you kind of know that they're about to move. And so you just vibe.
Right.
It's like,
you gotta feel the move.
Yeah. And I like, that kind of driving works really well for me when I have to make decisions about what's about to happen next. That's when I get a little weird. So.
Right. And also, I mean, like, not that this is a great way to drive around, but like, I do feel like unless you're on the FDR, like you'd have to be doing something absolutely fucking crazy to really like get hurt. Cause like, messing up your car is something like fixable, but like, obviously like getting injured is not. So I just get nervous when like, I feel like someone could die. Like if it's just my car that's going to get fucked up, like, okay, well we can handle that.
Yeah.
I'm constantly nervous about dying, which I heard recently is not normal. I mean, it's not like it keeps me up at night, but I think about dying like every day. Not because I want to, quite the opposite, because I don't want to.
I do too.
I'm like, if I put in all this fucking work and then I died like tomorrow, I would be pissed.
Pretty much every time I get in my car, I think about it. And I think like,
yeah, That's why I don't like driving.
I mean, it is like, but I get in and I kind of review my life. I'm just realizing this as you're saying it, that I definitely do this.
Yeah. It's so uncomfortable. And it's weird because I used to be like that with airplanes and, statistically you have more of a chance of dying in your car, but like I look up death statistics everywhere. Like one time, a couple of years ago, my ex-boyfriend wanted to go to a gun range because they had just opened like the first shooting range in New Jersey. And like, I'm anti-gun, but I kind of like came to terms with the fact that they're never going to go away. So I wanted to learn how to use one so I could feel more comfortable with one. That was my logic. And I've, shot a couple of times since then. But I absolutely looked up on Wikipedia, like how many people had died in it. And had only been one death, and it wasn't like someone went crazy. It was a pure accident because they let a 9-year-old shoot a gun that was way too big for her. And she ended up killing the instructor because it like fucking bucked back. And so it was like a number one freak accident. And I was like, okay, well, if I just, if I see a child with a gun, I'll exit.
Yeah, I've done that.
Especially a child from New Jersey. It's like New Jersey kids aren't, Ohio kids. We don't know how to like shoot and ski and all these things that people who grew up in the Midwest know how to do. Because people were like blown away that I didn't know how to ski. And I'm like, yeah, in New Jersey, you only skied as a child if you were rich. Yeah. This is not like just something everyone did. I wasn't rich.
Yeah. There's no ski trips happening. I tagged a boyfriend's youth group trip. I tagged along on the ski trip, and the assholes that he was with brought me up on the top of a mountain when I hadn't even learned. And I just,
oh my God,
skated down. Like, thank God I didn't die. I'm pretty sure I could have died really easy.
Oh, like people die all the time skiing. I think like the younger you are, actually, the better it is because you're closer to the ground because you're shorter. Your body's just kind of more resilient, and you don't have like enough knowledge to fear death in the correct way yet, which I think helps kids.
Yeah. Well, this is great. Just dad. Well, speaking of nope, I don't have a transition. I was thinking about when we were working together on the intern team, and how at the same time I was completely scared of you. And
oh yeah, that's a common thing.
I mean, you're just really direct. But I think at the same time I was like, I want to be like that, because I was in a relationship. I said this to my producer here, Ming. I was in a relationship with someone at the time who called me pain in the ass, and I put up with that.
I like that as your pet name.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's fun.
Yeah. Right.
Well, you were like 19. Like, how old were you?
I'm the same age as you.
So when we were at Conan, we would have been. I wasn't 21 at any point. So I think I was 19 or 20 because I specifically couldn't drink. And I remember like we used to go to bars afterwards where they didn't ID, or maybe only like back in the day when they wouldn't ID at the door, but during the weekdays, the bartender would just ID you when you got the drink. And so like Sarah and people like that would get shots, and I would order a Diet Coke, and then we would do this thing where we like dramatically cheers each other, and as we were cheering, they would dump the shot into my Diet Coke, because I hadn't drank at all like in college. I only started drinking a little bit at Conan.
Wow. So I didn't drink until I was almost 21, and I remember getting drinks on my last day with y'all at one of those bars. That you're all talking, and I got like an amaretto sour or something, and I think that there was no carding, or I can't remember what exactly happened. It was very scandalous. A lot of the things I went out and did with y'all. For me, like I was so straight. I just like I didn't smoke weed. I didn't drink.
Me neither. I still don't smoke weed. Yeah. No, it doesn't work on me. It like doesn't. I have some kind of a THC block, and people always like look at me like, how can that possibly be? But I mean, I have tried to consume weed in every way. I've eaten it, I've drank it, I've smoked it through every kind of thing. And people are like, maybe you're just not inhaling. And I was like, I've done DMT. Like, I know how to inhale, you fucking babies. I was like, I think I'm just like, I started with mushrooms. So I think my brain is just like, what is this, baby food? Like, it doesn't know. Also, like, I'm not really interested in downers, because I mean, I have anxiety right now for some things that are like going on in my personal life, but like overall, I am not a person with anxiety. I have situational anxiety, like, like everyone. But like, so I don't have trouble sleeping. Like, I don't need that. For me, I always want something like I've never done cocaine because I knew I would love it, because I'm like, anything that I can get more done, like that's the kind of stuff I'm interested in. Like, so a glass of wine is like more than enough. Like weed, I don't need to be that low. Like I would just be like sleeping for days if I smoked pot all the time.
There's definitely an amount of weed you can smoke that then puts you right to bed. So I've talked about it a lot on this podcast about how there's a certain kind of weed that when I smoke it, I immediately hear music.
In your head?
Full songs, full fucking songs.
Whoa.
And then I can go and like sing it into my phone, and then I can take that and go record parts of a song. And like most of the music I've written is stoned music.
That's really cool.
Rad. Like it's like a portal opens up, and it's like,
I love that.
here's your entire music library. What would you like to make today? And I'm like, oh, well.
Yeah, I'm definitely like into like things that make you more creative. I'm very into that.
Yeah.
And that's why I love acid. Obviously you can't do it very often. You'll enter another dimension permanently, but I enjoy it a lot. Definitely like a nice vacation without having to go anywhere.
I'm planning trying that for the first time very soon.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's better to do in your 30s. A lot of people do all these drugs when they're teenagers or in their 20s. And I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of people have, positive experiences, but I just feel like you got to save something for later on in life. Otherwise, what are you going to do?
A lot of things, especially becoming a parent.
Yeah.
I mean, I was 31, I think.
Mm-hmm. And that still feels so young to me. I was in the car today with my dog coming back from a road gig, and I was like, I can't fathom having a child. I mean, I also don't want to, so I think that's why, but it just seems so foreign to me. And I like kids. I just don't know how I would do it. Like, it's so impressive, people who are still working, still being creative like yourself, and then raising a child, having a functioning household. Like, wow.
I have a lot of help.
Yeah.
Well, my mother-in-law came and lived with us right after the baby was born. And we were like, why don't you stay? And so she's sort of like our au pair. Because we pay for her apartment and her food and all her stuff. And she's full-time.
Oh, wow.
And then my brother-in-law also came to stay with her a bunch. And then he ended up staying for good. So he walks the dogs. He takes out the trash. He does like little things for us. He takes care of the baby too. And so, it's a full... She's being raised by 4 people.
Oh, so it's like a full community. Because that's the only appeal I ever saw to like having sister wives. Because I was like, I couldn't handle all that energy. But then I was like, well, maybe I would want to have kids if I had sister wives. I could see that. Because I have no problem raising other people's kids. Like, that doesn't bother me. And I would just need help and like make sure that everyone is, giving somewhat good advice. It doesn't have to be perfect.
There's a lot of it. I think ultimately what I notice about having a kid is that it just slows down some of what I'm doing. Like, I've been working on a book with a friend of mine for almost 4 years now, and it probably would have been done otherwise.
Right. Even without kids, people do that all the time, though. It took like Lin-Manuel Miranda like 8 years to write Hamilton. I mean, it's great, but you probably could have done it faster, Lin. I was working for Lin at the time. I mean, for his management company.
Oh, really?
That's why I know the specifics of it. But I just always use that as an example because I've always been fascinated by his work process, and I do use some of it. As far as like, because I have so many ideas that I have trouble focusing sometimes. And, he was really, turning down a lot of other stuff while he was working on Hamilton. And I think it shows in the final product that he was like, you know what, I'm going to say no to some of these short-term opportunities, some of these little guest star roles on TV shows and stuff. And I'm working towards this goal, my own creation. And then obviously, Hamilton, I'm sure he will do many more things, but Hamilton could be the only thing he would do, and he'd be set for life easily. So
for real. And it's so, I'm telling the detail orientation of the thing. There's just the amount of things that are references that will go over most people's heads is startling.
Right. Yeah. And so that's good. So it has a complexity, almost like the way Disney does it, where it's like they have the complexity so that a child can enjoy it on one level, but also adults who have to bring children to the movie aren't bored because there's these little Easter eggs in there.
100%. Yeah. So back to the thing about being scared of you, because, I think it's you put your opinion on loudspeaker. And so when people do that, instead of veiling everything that they think, it's scarier to stand in front of them because you're going to hear the truth. It's not going to come out later on a side comment, which I actually have a pet peeve about, people holding back things. So,
Right.
But then to actually be with someone who doesn't hold back it's scary, but it's like, that's what you want. You want to feel alive in relationships, not like you're fucking pretending,
Right.
So I think when I or anyone says they're scared of you or intimidated by you, I think it's mostly that. It's like they're intimidated by the intimacy of being around you because you're not going to filter yourself.
Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of it is like I'm moving at a fast pace. So to me, it's not some kind of like strategic thing or manipulation. It's just literally like I don't have time to pretend or act, because to me, putting the time and energy into that is taking time away from me achieving my goals, or it's just, and not even in a selfish way, just like there's just absolutely no reason for it. I mean, also, it's funny that you're from New Jersey, and I can't imagine anyone from New Jersey veiling their opinion, but it is funny. And also, like, I'm an Italian Jew, so it's like, and I think I try not to be like obnoxious about it, because I also don't like people who like also give unsolicited opinions that aren't necessary. Like, who, if you walk in an outfit, they're like, that outfit's ugly. Like, and I think there's a difference between that and someone asking your opinion and you not sugarcoating it. And I really try to do that, that one, and not the one where you're like, I hate your haircut, like when no one asked. But
that's kind of like, that's the kind of transparency that my grandma brought to the table. And then like, I don't know. I think I'm a lot different now than I was, when we were interning, obviously. I mean, I would hope so. Jesus, it's 2006. So I'm a little different. But the reason I was even like pulled toward you at all was because you had these characteristics that I was like, I want that. How do I get like that? I want to be like, and you're right, you were moving really quickly, because I remember all of a sudden you were starting an intern newsletter and getting people on staff to write segments, and I think I wrote something once, but that was like, to me, that really resonated for me too, because I was always someone in class, in college or whatever, who would think of something other than what the professor was asking for, and then go to them and be like, hey, I know that you want us to write a term paper, but I would like to make a movie. Can I do that?
Right. Yeah.
Everyone would fucking hate me. They're like, how come you have to make a movie? I'm like, because I asked.
Right. And I think it's a good lesson to learn, especially for women. Like, can I try something different? Because like the worst thing that's going to happen is your professor said no. Like the professor's not going to get mad at you. And if they did get mad at you, well, that's like really not a good professor, because especially in a learning environment, you should be encouraged to take risks or at least speak your mind.
Yeah. My professor was thrilled. He was thrilled.
Good. Yeah, one more thing that he or she didn't have to fucking correct, and they could just watch.
Totally. But on the day we were supposed to go up in front of the room and present our paper, talk about our paper, and when it came time for me, he was just like, okay, and went over and shut the lights off, and everyone's like, what's happening?
It's a sensory reading.
But I feel like it was similar. I had a few similar experiences working with you at Conan, because I feel like we both were not, I wouldn't say opportunistic, but someone might label it that way. Like just looking for ways to like get in with people and have people know who we were, and get down onto the studio floor when certain guests were coming on, so we could get a closer look at them, or like get other opportunities while we were.
When I heard Paul Rudd was there, I was like, I'm getting there if I have to fight security. I don't even care.
I once saw Paul Rudd. I had just filmed something at 92Y Tribeca, and afterwards it was like, I don't know, there's some kind of thing on the stage, and then like he was just in the audience like a normal, and he's just standing there. And it's like time to leave, and people are going to the coat room and doing stuff, and I just see him, and our eyes met, and I just turned and walked away, because I was like, I can't have a bad interaction with Paul Rudd, so I'm just not going to have one at all.
I get that, and that's one way to approach it. And honestly, sometimes like for me, the meetings that I've had with my favorite celebrities, in my mind, like it's almost impossible that the actual interaction could meet that. The only time it's ever happened that my dream of meeting someone was just as good, as I had hoped, was with Marilyn Manson. So, and I mean, I've been thinking about it for 2 years.
What happened?
And it's funny because it was not it wasn't a by chance meeting. And I, usually with celebrities, a by chance meeting is going to be better than a paid opportunity or one where you premeditated, know you're going to meet the person. But this was a fan situation. He was playing PNC Bank Arts Center. Yeah, I think it was 2 summers ago. And my best friend Tommy and I went. We're big Marilyn Manson fans, and we just go to a lot of concerts together in general. And it was so funny. I was on a plane on my way back from a gig, and I guess it had been announced that for $500 you could meet Marilyn Manson before. And so when I landed, I got like a text from my friend that was like, "Hey, do you want to do this?" And then the I didn't respond fast enough, so he's like, "I already bought it." Like, so he had spent just $1,000 for both of us. I'm like, we're not, he's not loaded or anything. And it's great because I, of course, responded. I was like, "I'm so glad you made the correct decision, because 100% yes." So if that had sold out and we didn't get to meet him, I would have been devastated. And so they took us, group by group before the concert, maybe groups of about 20 people. And then you would go on the tour bus, maybe like 10 by 10. And you actually got to go on Marilyn Manson's tour bus, and it's like dark, and he's like sitting there because he has to sit because he's fucking huge. I don't even think he could stand fully erect on his own tour bus. He's so tall. And you got to take one Polaroid with him, and you had to put like everything else away. You couldn't even bring, your phone or anything on the tour bus. And we just had like an interaction. And I had planned, I was like, I need to make this special. So number one, I made him like this whole gift bag, that they did. I gave it to his security, but I know it got to him because I also told him about it. And then I was like, "Hey, I want to do like a fun one for the Polaroid." And he was like, kind of just looked at me like, "What?" And I was like, "No, like, I'm not gonna like touch your dick or anything. I just want you to give us bunny ears." Like very, because I was like, with the look in his eyes, I was like, what have people asked you to do? And then I was like, that's right, you're fucking Marilyn Manson. I'm sure people have been like, "Can you bite me like a vampire and drink my blood?" So, I forgot. I was like, no, I just want like a cute, quirky. I thought it would be funny for someone so like macabre to do something so whimsical. That was my whole, thing. And he has, I've heard he has a good sense of humor. So I thought he would do it. And he like definitely did it for the first one. And it was so cute, just like I knew it would be. And then right before we were about to take the second one, because we got two, because one for me, one for my best friend, he like turned to me and very like, it was like a little seductive and a little dry. And he was like, "You can touch my dick in this one." And I was like, "Ah!" And like, he said it, obviously he was joking, but he like, I knew if I had wanted to touch his dick in that moment that I could. And so like, I put my hand on his thigh, like as close as I was comfortable getting to his dick. Cause like in my heart, I did want to touch it, but I also like, it's not going to be fun for me, like with my guy best friend sitting next, So, but yeah. And then I was like, okay, well, I don't want to molest you. But thank you. It was just like very awkward. It was fun though. He has a really good sense of humor. So we had a good laugh, and it was just, he's very erotic. And cause a lot of times I have this thing where anyone I have a crush on, when I actually have an interaction with them, I'm no longer attracted to them, but I'm even more attracted to Marilyn Manson now. I was like, whew. Even telling the story 2 years later, getting hot.
A little hot and bothered.
Hot and bothered.
I can picture it too. Like you said the line, and I can see it, and I can hear his voice saying.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's like definitely, dirty and has like a perverted mind and a dry sense of humor, but also a good sense of humor in that he will laugh at other people's jokes. He's not one of those famous people who's like, attention on me all the time. He's actually quite quiet off stage and kind of like childlike, but not in a weird way, not in like a stunted way, just in like a sweet way. And yeah, I really like it's one of the more interesting personalities I've encountered. Yeah. I liked it.
That's wild. That's wild. What was in the gift bag?
I gave him a copy of me and Christina's book. Because I wanted him to remember I've been trying to get him on the Guys We Fuck podcast for quite some time. And he is interested. It's just like never the right time. And then COVID hit. Cause like he was supposed to have a new album coming out, I believe last year, that got postponed because his people were like, yeah, no, he'll do the podcast to promote that. And I was like shitting myself.
Yeah.
So I gave him that because I wanted him to, because I thought he would like the podcast. I know he likes podcasts in general, because my comedy partner saw some kind of an interaction where Marilyn was trying to get on Rogan. So I know that he enjoys comedy and comedy podcasts, and is friends with some LA comedians for sure. And then I also gave him a DVD of a student film that I had made in film school, To the Beautiful People, on like a Bowflex or an Ariflex, and then maybe like a stuffed animal or something. Like I had looked up like, what is Marilyn Manson like? And like, he likes fuzzy things or something. So the other stuff was like things that I had researched. It wasn't just all like swag about myself. But when you're giving it, it's a strategic move too. And it's like, if they're going to remember you, they're going to remember you. People have certainly given me gifts where, I posted on my Instagram story, like, oh, this was a great cookie I had. Like, thanks so much to Donna's Bakery or whatever. Because why not? It's no skin off my back.
Yeah. And there's so many things that can feel really contrived and manipulative. And then there's stuff that's just like win-win. Why not?
Right. And I think you got to make a move. And, he's, if you've been in the business as long as Marilyn Manson, like, that everyone's trying to get ahead. And that's certainly not why, I would have been just as happy to meet Marilyn Manson if I wasn't in this business, probably more, because I would have felt no pressure to do anything other than enjoy the time. But because I'm me, I'm always like, I can't even be at a concert enjoying myself. I have to be doing business,
Normal.
What?
I said, to be a normal.
Yeah, no, I'm just like, I'm always like trying to think, because that's like, I like the entertainment business because you are in many ways in control of your own destiny. But for a workaholic like myself, it always creates a constant feeling of stress and pressure on yourself, because, it's also my fault when I'm not doing something. So then I feel like I should always be doing something, which is a great way to be always exhausted.
Yeah, totally. Everything could be a missed opportunity. Everything could be something I end up kicking myself for later.
Yeah. And so it's like, it's like me doing work doesn't take a lot of thought or a lot of pressure on myself. Me knowing that I need to relax sometimes and enjoy things. Otherwise, what's the point of working so hard? That was a much harder lesson to learn, and something that I like actively work on. And a big part of the reason I even like went to therapy, because I had a nice childhood. It's like, I didn't need it for that. And which I thought most people did, but I only learned like a couple of years ago, most people actually had like a traumatic childhood. I traumatized myself.
Like capital T trauma and lowercase t trauma, and they're different, and everyone has lowercase t trauma no matter what. Like someone could look at you the wrong way when you're a little kid and it creates a trauma in your body. So it's like, I know like so much about it at this point, because I've just been immersed in the personal development, personal growth world for a decade now. So I'm like, very steeped, learning lots of really, really interesting things lately about myself, and shocked that I could keep learning things about myself after so much direct training and
right. That's positive. Like, you want to be, I like, sometimes it can be jarring. Like, I can't believe I went this long without knowing that, but it, it feels nice to constantly be growing. Like, nothing I hate more, as much as I hate things like going badly, I think I almost prefer that to being stagnant, because at least it feels like something, which could be a fucked up approach. But
no, I don't know. I think failure is part of success, and to be like a fucking cliche, but like, if you're not willing to fail at all at anything, then like you're not going to do anything.
You're not going to do anything great, that's for sure. And I mean, that's certainly like, just based on, and so many things in my, larger scale life, I base off, stand-up comedy. And, when you are always killing on stage, when you're never bombing, people think that's great, but it's really not. It means you're never trying new jokes. Like, because there's a 0% chance that every joke out of your mouth is hilarious. It just means that you're telling jokes that you've tested so many times, 9 out of 10 people like them. And to me, it's like the thrill and the excitement of doing live performance is taking that risk. So if there's no risk involved, like, what do you just like people clapping for you? Like, that's not why I'm there. I think it's funny when people don't laugh sometimes, to be honest.
Oh, that, I mean, like, you're right. There is a certain, like, je ne sais quoi to that like silence.
Yeah. I like when I piss people off or I take it too far. It makes me laugh more than making other people laugh.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously not all the time, but every now and again.
I mean, you gotta. The only way you get a really killer joke is by risking that, and that's it.
Yeah, you're gonna tell a lot of that. You're gonna tell it in an offensive way. You're gonna tell it in a way that doesn't resonate with people or that they don't understand. And there's so many variables too. Like, especially if you're doing references, maybe they're not from, maybe they didn't have that restaurant in the part of the country that they grew up. Maybe they're from another country and they never saw that TV show. Like, there's a lot of things going on, especially when you're like me and have just a lot of pop culture in your sets. So, I'll get into a city. Like, I remember getting into London and going, do you guys know what Taco Bell is here? Like, that was my first question when I got to London, because I needed to know for my stand-up, because there's a whole joke that you have to know how the Taco Bell menu works to understand the joke. So I was like, well, I'm not going to bother telling this if you guys aren't like familiar. What?
Do they have Taco Bell in London?
I think they were like, I think they said we don't have it, and I certainly didn't see one, but that they know what it is. But I feel like I didn't tell it because they just weren't familiar enough with it.
Yeah, I was there not that long ago, right before the pandemic, and I can't remember seeing one.
Yeah, because I remember, they have McDonald's there.
Yes,
McDonald's everywhere. I mean, the McDonald's they have in Romania. So
the McDonald's I had in London was so bad, and it was so different because it's different animals.
Mm-hmm. It does. McDonald's tastes different everywhere you go, and they have different menu items. Like, they have like a croque monsieur in Romania, which is the ham and the cheese, like a grilled cheese with ham, basically, for anyone who doesn't know. But yeah.
Let's see. There's some stuff I want to talk to you about. One of my, so I have this break up with your bullshit community, and there's a Facebook group, and they call each other boops, because if you abbreviate break up with your bullshit, it looks like boobs, but then they started calling boops. So one of the boops had a question, said, ask Corinne about working with her friend on the podcast, like how to combine or balance the two types of relationships, friends and colleagues. And that was from
right. The interesting thing about Christine and I is we are friends, but pretty much from day one, there was a business aspect to our friendship. And that's because of how we met. When I graduated, I went to school in Manhattan at the School of Visual Arts. Most people refer to it as SVA. It's a private art school. I have a BFA in film direction. And when I graduated there, I went to work at a talent management company called Liebman Entertainment. Christina's a couple years younger than me. So a couple years into working there, she came to intern for us. And we just like vibed. She was really helpful. There's, it was a very small office. And I was the youngest person and the lowest person on the totem pole there. And so I just constantly needed help. And there was I just needed someone who was like on top of it, didn't complain when I gave them tasks, and, was actively asking me, is there anything else I can do once they were done? They weren't just like sitting at the table, at the conference room table on their phone, waiting for me to ask for something else. You want an intern to be proactive. And so she had all these qualities and she was really helpful. And she worked on Fridays, as in addition to a couple other days, but Fridays in particular, like if you're a good intern on Fridays in representation, it makes a world of difference, because when you're in New York representation, fucking LA likes to wait until 5 p.m. their time to call in a bunch of auditions and stuff. So it was very, very common for me to be in the office till 10 or 11 p.m. on Friday nights. And I was like, this is the only time in my life I'm going to have abs. I need to be out clubbing. What the fuck? I was furious. And I mean, I was working 60 to 70 hour weeks for like $22,000. Like, I mean, just exhausted. And so I loved that. And, she, we kept in touch, on Facebook and stuff. And after she left, and I always had pleasant memories of her. And then she asked me one day if I wanted to come to her bringer show, which, if you guys don't know, a bringer show is like a stand-up comedy show where you basically have to, like, when you're starting out, your friends have to pay to come see you to allow you to have stage time. And so I went, and I was excited. I love stand-up. So I was so excited to see her. And I and I had always been interested in stand-up and very well versed in it, but I hadn't really thought of like doing it myself. I was doing UCB at the time. I knew that improv wasn't going to be like the thing that I shined in, but I just like never really thought of doing stand-up seriously. I had done it one time in a contest when I was when I was like 16, and then I just, was a fan of it after that. But I saw that, and that kind of just inspired me to get back in it, because it was something that I was thinking of, and then I saw her do it, and I was like, I can fucking do this. Not because it looked easy, but I was like, no, I have this. And she was very funny. And, I reached out to her after that, and I was like, well, I'm, going to start going to open mics. Do you also want to maybe work on like a comedy project together? And that's how our comedy duo, Sorry About Last Night, was born, which Sorry About Last Night is like the larger umbrella that the Guys We Fuck podcast lives under. And so, we worked together for like 3 or 4 years before Guys We Fucked became a thing, and became kind of like New York famous, I would say. Like we had some shows that, we could easily draw 100 people. So like in the indie scene, doing very well. Because we were organized. We had a plan. We thought of branding from day one, which number one is a very female thing that I see. Like women are much better at like the organizing and these preliminary steps. And I also think it's like sometimes as artists, we almost turn our nose up at the business aspect of art. That's going away more now, but certainly at that time, it was like, oh, what are you like not in it for the art? But if you want to make a living off of your art, you need to be thinking about the business from day one. And I think like coming from the management world, that was something I was always really comfortable with. And like, even though management wasn't for me and it stressed me out in a lot of ways, I 100% am so glad that I worked there, at that company for 5 years, because I was paying attention the whole time, and I really learned some very valuable lessons. And so for all those, years before Guys We Fucked, when, no one was interested in representing us, I was able to manage our career for us. And so we did, we did comedy shows, and we wrote, a 2-person show that we performed at UCB, and we made videos. And then finally we got into podcasting and started that. And, there's a lot of maintenance that goes into working with anyone, whether you meet them through business or friendship. And I think the number one thing is boundaries. Like we, to this day, have rules that we try to keep business interactions to email and friend interactions to text message. Because it's just like a lot. Like sometimes like when you're walking through living your life, you don't want a fucking paragraph coming in about how, this TV pilot didn't get picked up. Like, when I sit down with my email, I am more prepared to see news that is going to annoy me, stress me out. And like to get that on text messages, like a different text messages for like silliness to me.
Yeah.
Or, talking to a cute boy or something. Obviously, sometimes you have to, when you need someone in a pinch, you got to text them. But overall, we've tried to do that. And then, picking times when we sometimes just hang out as friends, like saying like, hey, do you want to just like go to the mall and not talk about business today? And so like planning it the same way in a relationship. Sometimes I'm sure you're like bogged down taking care of, your kid. And then you say, oh, we need to have like a mom and dad date night. So it's the same concept, only me and Christina aren't banging.
Well, we've learned, my husband and I have learned that if we don't have a time set aside, both for the banging, but also for the business of the marriage, and it will come out at random moments. Like I'll be like putting together a unicorn pom-pom thing with her, and he'll be like, hey, did all your client payments come in? I'm like, fucking asking me this right now. And then we have a fight because I'm like, don't ask me about money when I'm not at my computer. And then I don't answer you well. And then you look at me like that. And then I think I'm a screw up. And, like it just snowballs. We now have Wednesday night is our night. Like nothing touches Wednesday night. She's not home. She's with her grandma. We are together. We have a schedule for what happens. And part of it, like money conversations and just planning our lives and checking in on the goals that we are both working on. Like we both have well-being goals. We're trying to get pregnant. We're trying to move. I'm moving to Colorado, Corinne.
Oh, wow. My favorite state after, my favorite state after New York City, which is not a state. But
Okay.
I love Colorado. That's so fun. Well, to Denver or outside of Denver?
we're looking outside of Denver. He works for Major League Baseball, and they have a New York office, but they also have a Boulder office.
My dad owns a baseball card store. That's so cool.
Oh, that's neat.
Oh, I love that. How fun.
He's a programmer. He makes the app that's on a Samsung TV that you watch baseball on. He makes that app. He's a senior developer.
Oh, cool. That's gonna be a fun move. That's exciting. Yeah, that's like the one thing I wish I could be a little bit more free with where I live in this business. I suppose I can't really with the kind of comedy comedy career that I have. If I was like more of a road person, I could, but God, it would be fun. I'm in love with New York though. I'll get it. I do plan on getting a home in Colorado at some point though. I love it there.
Visit. We're gonna.
Yeah.
Maybe the weed will get through.
Yeah, we'll just keep trying. We'll keep trying. I love Colorado.
It's so weird. I've never been there, but in third grade we had to pick a state to make a map of, and I picked Colorado. And then the next year it just became my thing. If we had to pick a state,
that's so funny.
I've picked and I've always said I will live there one day. It's the most random. I knew, and I've never been there. And now his office is there. His sister and her husband are out there. And then Denver seems really cool. So like if we're in the area somewhere, apparently everything's really close by. And oh my God. So because my mother-in-law and brother-in-law live with us, and are, like we need a house that fits everybody, or we need two houses. So
they're all moving with you. Wow, this is a huge move. And are you not concerned that you're moving to a place that you've never been?
We are going to drive there.
Okay.
We're going to drive there in April and buy a house.
Okay. So like, if something happened and you moved there and you're like, I hate this, like you do have a chance to get out of it, kind of.
Yeah. But his sister's been living there for a while and we vibe, and I believe her.
I don't think you'll hate it, honestly. Like, especially coming from the States, like you're coming from New Jersey. It's fine. Like, I love New Jersey. No disrespect. Obviously, I'm from there, but you'll be fine.
Well, I think I'll like it. I talked to a medium, and I asked, should I move to Colorado? And the spirit guides were overwhelmingly in favor of this idea, and told me that where I am currently is too congested and I will not be able to reach my highest potential here.
That is one thing I love. It's also, out of all the states I visit, and I've been to like a good amount of the United States because of my job. It's like the outdoors and being athletic isn't something that is only reserved for children, which I think is so common, especially like on the East Coast. Like, people go hiking and like there's what the hell are they called? The things where you kind of like latch on to like an obstacle course and like you're in the middle of the air, and you do an obstacle course. It's beyond a zip line though. Like you're doing a full obstacle course in the middle of the air, like an aerial obstacle course. That's one of the things I did there for the first time. Like you're just constantly using your body and moving and being outside and, going, for the weekend instead of like hanging out in a fucking 7-Eleven parking lot or whatever we do in New Jersey, you're going to Red Rocks amphitheater and just, it's a lot of like enjoying nature and being outside and like, such a great dog culture too.
Well,
so
got dogs. That's
yes.
Yeah. So I'm like to get out of here. And I don't want to, there's a lot of people I don't want to leave here, but maybe I'll start a mass exodus.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I was dating a guy who lived in Denver last year, and I was so happy to like have an excuse to go there.
Well, now you have another one.
Yeah, and you gotta go to the Shining Hotel, which is about an hour outside Denver in Estes Park, which is also just like a beautiful town. It's where Stephen King was inspired to write The Shining. You probably know that though.
I forgot about that part. My husband will love that. That will really freak me out, but I would like it at the same time.
Gorgeous place.
Oh gosh, let's see. We don't have that much time, so this is a question I ask everybody is, presumably lots of your own bullshit that might get in the way of your creative work, you've had to break up with. You've had to get out. Like, it doesn't even occur. Like there's a lot of it, you just sort of too quickly for it to even get you. But what bullshit are you still on?
Mm, I mean, I'm a very bad procrastinator, but I've kind of handled that, and by God, I still procrastinate. It is kind of like part of my process at this point, but I'm like, oh well, that's what I just didn't get married or have kids. So that's the extra time that I saved not doing either of those things. To be honest, like it sounds like a joke, but I'm like, oh well, this is why I'm still able to achieve as much because like I just don't have anything else
You're right.
besides me to worry about. So it doesn't it's not really showing up in time spent working. And that's good. That's good. It would be bad if I wanted those things, but thankfully I have a lot of time to just sit and stare at a wall or, watch the entire Leah Remini Scientology series in one sitting, whatever I need to do. So that, and then, I mean, I think, like lack of focus, it's not lack of focus in that I'm doing like stupid stuff. It's like I'm trying to do too many projects at once, and then the quality of all them suffer. So again, I go back to my Lin-Manuel Miranda rule, and that's like why I call it in my head. And anytime I've followed the Lin-Manuel Miranda rule, the proof is in the pudding. Every time, it's 100% accurate in in my testing. Knock on wood. And so I think sometimes, especially in the age, especially in my business where you feel like you constantly have to be doing stuff like getting your Instagram, followers up to sell tickets or making a TikTok or whatever this is. Those are little small successes that I just need to, and I'm getting better. I just need to ignore other people getting ahead in those areas and focus on a larger goal that will change my life. Having a TikTok go viral is not going to change your life. Everyone now and again, I will say it does. Like my friend Robin Shaw recently had a video go viral, and that did change her life. But the fact that is very rare. Usually you'll get a couple thousand followers and people will laugh, but most times it's not going to change your life. And like, I feel like the amount of time and energy you would have to put into making videos is not worth it. Yeah. And that's not to dissuade anyone from doing it. It's also I'm 35. So that's also part of it for me. And it's like, that's not, and even if I were to become super famous from a TikTok, I go, okay, well, I'm at a point where I'm still going to be selective about, it's not, when I was little, I kind of was like, I just want to become famous. However, and now I'm like a lot more selective about that. Like I wouldn't want to become famous from a TikTok anyway. So then it's like, well, why are we playing this lottery? If you don't want to even win the
really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm saying it's like, okay, yeah, the end, the end goal would be the same, but the pathway there wouldn't. And the pathway is important to me. That's actually even why I don't play the lottery, because I do want to make a lot of money, but it won't mean anything to me if I win it. I have to earn it. And like, that's like a really weird thing, but like the pathway to where you get, I think is so important. And we're often so focused on our destination that we don't think about like the ethics of the pathway, and we don't think about enjoying the path. Like so many people are like, oh, it must be so great to like have people come out to your shows and not just be performing for people who don't know you. And I go, I gotta be honest, becoming a professional full-time comedian, that like pathway was one of the most enjoyable and rewarding experiences of my life so far as an entertainer. Even when I was so broke that literal mice were crawling over my pillow. Like, obviously, that little moment wasn't great, but it made me who I am, and it made me appreciate everything so much. And I learned so much along the way, and I met so many people, and I had so many great nights. Like, I really did enjoy that open mic hustling, being in 4 boroughs, in one night, being exhausted the next day at my day job. Like, even though there was moments of pain in that, overall, even when I was living it and when I look back, that was a really fun time. It was a really exciting time. And, I remember nights when I had no money and I was like, I don't know, living off like Wendy's baked potatoes or whatever the hell I was eating at that time. And I would just be walking home, from doing like a show at a bar for like 20 people. And I would look up and in the darkness at all these buildings in New York City, and you go, even if this is as far as you get, like, how fucking cool. You live in New York City and you're a stand-up comedian. Like, that alone is like just so much more glamorous and cool and follow your dreams than most people will ever get. So it's like, appreciate those moments on the way there. And I think people, especially online, you see a lot of people who are like so just irritated at people who have followed their dreams or succeeded, and made money. And I've never felt that way. I think it's always because I always believed in myself too. So I always knew I would get to a place, but I've never been mad at people for earning money or becoming famous or enjoying the fruits of their labor. And it bothers me and confuses me that people are.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not, and also half the time we're complicit in their success anyway. So I don't know. Everyone's mad at Jeff Bezos. I'm like, do you not guide things from Amazon, you psycho? Like, then stop doing that if you don't like him, because we have control. That's one of the great things about living in America. We have a lot of control over how and where we put our, how we spend our money, where we put our money. And so like, what?
I feel like maybe it's born from like people want to pretend like life is happening to them. And so when someone pops up in a movie or something, or they have some success, it's like, well, fuck them. But
yeah,
all over a lot of this.
Yeah. And I mean, especially with stand-up comedy, I always tell people, no matter what you think of someone's comedy, if you think they're funny or they're not, what I will let you know is, 99% of comedians worked very hard to get where they are. And that's one of the things I like the best, about this business. It's not the same as, like modeling or something where literally you could just be born hot and walking down the street and discovered, and that's not to take away from models. I know a lot of models who work very hard, but it's just, you're on stage alone. There's really nothing that anyone can do to fabricate that level of skill, in that way. And then the last thing
that you fabricated it somehow. It's like,
yeah, what? And then what was part 3? Part 3, I guess I was like, because I don't really have like self-doubt isn't a problem. Oh, and then like putting on blinders to other people. I don't get jealous very often of other people because like I was just talking with my friend in the car earlier. Like I've never wanted to be anyone but me, but I do sometimes get annoyed and I'm like, why the fuck? I was like, what do I have to do? Because, I've done all this work. I have this level of talent. And then I'll see someone who just like isn't a good person, isn't a hard worker, getting something. And you go, what in the actual fuck is going on here? Because I don't like things that feel like luck. And so I think it's just not getting frustrated by those people. And like just any moment that you spend thinking about why someone got something and you didn't is a moment that you could be spending on making yourself sharper. And no matter what the reason is, I mean, even if it's just because that's a person who's hotter than me, okay, I'm not going to get mad about that. That's a part of the business that I work in. And I'm not going to get mad about it. And I don't even think it's unfair. I like looking at hot people too. Like, it's just, I'm not, yeah. And I think so. It's just like a constant, like almost maintenance, the way you would do in a relationship. It's maintenance that you have to do with yourself as a person in whatever business you're in. And I think it's not just entertainment business where we're getting distracted by the success of others and, to stop and, do these like kind of corny seeming things like moments of gratitude where I go, well, instead of spending this moment thinking about what I don't have and why I don't have this thing, why don't I just like reflect for a moment on all the things I do have and all the successes I did experience and all the hard work that I did do that did pay off and can continue moving forward from that place. And again, it's maintenance. It's not like I just wake up and I'm like, oh, everything's great. But it's like, you got to check in with yourself the same way you check in with a partner.
I love what you said about looking up at the sky. Like I've had those moments in New York City. And I think it just really got me present to that. It doesn't matter how far you've come as long as you are moving toward something that you care about and that you're clear on the trajectory. Like I remember when you got on Rogan and I woke up in the morning and saw, I screamed for you. I was like, yes! Like my husband, he watches Joe Rogan every single day. So it's like up on his computer and I was like, yes, fuck yes.
So
like I was so excited for you. And in no cell of my body was I like, why not me? I'm like, what? And like the more important question I think in those moments is like, okay, who would I have to be being? What would I have to be doing for that? Do I even want that? do I actually want that? Or do I just
Right.
think I want that because it looks shiny or, whatever. But
right. And I think, that's a real testament to like who you are, like the fact that you can, feel joy for others. I believe in Alanis Morissette, she's my personal Jesus. She talks in her song 21 Things I Want in a Lover. One of the things is, she wants a partner who is able to feel joy for other people and their successes. And I think that really is a reflection of who you are, because so many people are unable to do that. And I kind of have a joke where I say that I never feel joy for others, which is not true because I do, but like, I'm also not someone who's like, I'm happy for everyone. Like, yeah, no, I'm not happy for everyone because some people are fucking dirtbags, you know? But I had a similar experience to that. Like when I saw Amy Schumer on like Last Comic Standing, I got so excited. I actually had known her a little bit, not through comedy. I wasn't in comedy at the time, but, and she told me that she was on it and I was so thrilled. I was thrilled to see her fucking headline Gotham Comedy Club. Like, it was just exciting to me because I think like it showed me like, oh, she was in a student film last year and now she's on TV. Like the work that I'm putting in like is possible. So I think when you see someone else achieve something that's kind of in the same space as you, instead of thinking of it like, oh no, they got it and I won't, you go, oh no, this is a real road that I can continue on and make my dreams come true. It makes it feel, to me, it made it feel possible. It didn't make it feel competitive. I go, oh, it's possible. Because
like,
these famous people just pop up. I didn't know Leonardo DiCaprio as a kid. He just popped up one day as Leonardo DiCaprio. So when you see someone, one of your peers or colleagues becomes famous, and to see that is wildly inspiring. I think if you're able to look at it in that way, you go, fuck.
Totally. Yeah. And I think it's a self-esteem thing. Like you were saying earlier, you have to relate to yourself as enough to even be able to get to that,
And, there is competition. Of course there is, but there's also like, there's so much room for so many people to succeed. Like there's far more people taking up space not succeeding than taking up space succeeding. So I wouldn't worry about that.
That's a good point. I feel like you already gave some of this, but the last question I ask everybody is, if there's someone listening to this right now who is really on their bullshit, like not moving forward in some creative aspect of their life, what advice would you give them?
God, there's so many people like that. I mean, just ask yourself the basic questions like, why? Also, why not? It's like, I think a lot of people have inside reasons why, whether it be trauma or, self-esteem or whatever it is, why they don't feel good enough. And to those kind of voices, I would say like, well, then why aren't you doing the work to fix that so then you can then live the dream that you want? And then I would also say like, is the dream that you have what you actually want or just something that you think would look good? Because it's like, to me, it's like, why aren't you inspired? Why aren't you motivated? Like, if you feel like life sucks or life isn't fair, like not living your dreams isn't going to make it easier or make this go by faster. Like you're here, what's the point? What are we doing? And I think like, no matter, it doesn't matter if you're famous or not famous or rich or not rich, like none of those things matter as far as your worth as a human being. But I would argue that your worth as a human being does have something to do with, are you leaving the world a little bit better or a little bit worse or just exactly the same as you left it? And, as a lifelong Girl Scout, we have the campfire rule where you're always leaving a place better than you came to it. And I mean, that's, if someone was to ask me like, what is your goal for life, that, and how would I express that succinctly? It would be with the Girl Scout campfire rule. And I think that if you lack just a want to leave the world better than it is, then you actually need to just go to therapy because you're wasting everyone's time. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your own time. You're wasting there's a lot to do. And it doesn't have to be a huge thing. Like your purpose in life could literally just be, picking up trash off the street. I mean, like there's a lot of things you could do that aren't huge, but that will make people's life better and your community better. And I think that is like your duty as a human. And I know you didn't ask to be born, but you're here now, so might as well make the best of it, right?
Well, on some spiritual level, apparently we do ask.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
I said, can I be born? I did watch, what was it, Soul?
Oh, yeah, and I haven't watched it yet because my daughter dictates what we watch, and she hasn't selected it yet. We're still on Brave. We're watching Brave over and over again. Brave, Brave, Brave.
Oh, she's in the repetitive stage. My brother watched The Wizard of Oz like 365 times, I swear.
She gets one movie, and then we go, 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 and then she switches abruptly, and then it's a different movie, go, go, go. No, but
I have OCD, so I understand that.
Me too. I used to repeatedly watch movies, but I asked that medium if I should have more kids, and the spirit guide said that there are 3 more that are waiting, which 3? Wild, Corinne, because I always said I want 4 and I have 1.
Really?
Tell this medium that, and then they're like, oh, there's 3 more. She's like, however, because of your success that you're going to have, and because of your potential fame and the amount of traveling that you're going to be doing, we caution you about bringing all of those children, and say it's not your highest potential, and you should do it if it is the joy of your life, and like, you're really exploding about it. So I've decided I want 1 more, and that's it. So the other 2, I'm like, maybe they'll twins. I don't know. Maybe I'll end up with 2 unintentionally, but
what if you have triplets?
I know.
Crazy. Oh God, come out.
Fuck you, we're coming in. She said this is the last one.
That's so funny. Well, I think in that way, then you just, maybe it's in some weird way, maybe like your route to like being known is in something in like the parenthood realm. Then people figure it out. People are very smart when they want to be. I could
absolutely be on a platform. Like I picked Break Up With Your Bullshit and Creative, whatever, but like I also had a natural home birth. Like I could be a coach for moms to do that.
Yeah.
I could do it. Do it. Oh,
if I was gonna have a kid, I would definitely set up a baby pool in my own house. Don't you worry.
That's what I did in my apartment in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. I had a pool.
Yes, I love that.
It was awesome.
I love that.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. But thank you so much, Corinne, for being on. Anything up and coming that you're?
I literally just walked in from a first reopened weekend at Helium Philadelphia. COVID safe. So I'm gonna do it. They're easing back into like live comedy dates. It's still very weird and very masky and social distance, but trying to do what we can while, not killing our friends and neighbors. So there's that. And then, mostly I'm concentrating on podcasting right now, which has been the savior of COVID-19 year. So I have the, Guys We Fucked, the anti-slut shaming podcast with Christina Hutchinson. That's my OG show. It is on Luminary, which is a pay platform, but there's like 6 years of archived episodes on iTunes and Spotify. Highly recommend that. And then I have a new-ish podcast. We're about 55 episodes in, called Without a Country, which is a look at the news through as unbiased a lens as possible on the Gas Digital Network. But again, accessible for free it comes out on Saturdays on YouTube and also on iTunes. And very proud of that one. So if you're kind of tired of the same way you're ingesting the news, I recommend that, getting it from comedians. We'll roast it, but we'll also give you the info. By the way, I just love the unbiased look. And I don't know, I find it very refreshing to listen to you talk world events. Oh, thanks. I get excited because I'm excited and I want people to want to know what's going on. But to me, it's like I am a truth seeker. And this is like, even in the pattern app, it's like, you are a truth seeker. It's like, I end up causing trouble a lot. I don't, I think it is fun to cause trouble, but I don't always mean to. I just really want to know the truth. And it upsets me when people present what they want to be the truth as the truth, because that's not what the truth is. That's called an ideal. You have to be willing to explore it and look. And if we're not allowed to look, because looking implies that you agree, or like, what? Yeah. Why don't we listen not just to things that people are repeating what we already believe, but listen to things that make you go like tilt your head and Yeah, or or be offended and just sit with that feeling. You go, yeah, I'm offended. I didn't like what that person said. Okay.
Yeah. What if we could expand our capacity to be offended? Maybe we'd be able to have more conversations about things.
Absolutely.
It's something I'm totally with it and love that. And you're a fantastic podcaster and a hilarious stand-up.
This is so nice. I'll Venmo you later. I love it.
I guess I'll see you in Colorado.
Yeah, hell yeah. Oh my God, have the best time. Safe travels. Like, can't wait to see your beautiful house and the mountains and the sunshine. Oh, it's going to be great.
All right. Thanks, Corinne.
Bye. Have a good one. Take care.
Bye.